David Hislop's DH Bethel Patch is one of the most popular Helix resources out there, and as a fun exercise, I attempted to recreate the patch from scratch. I'd like to share my findings that I hope will be beneficial to those of you looking to tweak on your own coming up. Hello and welcome to the video. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Justin and I'm all about worship guitar. Please consider subscribing, hitting that bell notification button and treating me to a coffee to support these videos and my ministry. Stick around to the end for a bonus where I share where to download the patch featured in this video. If we've met before, welcome back. Today's patch creation is centered on the DH Bethel Helix Patch, created by David Hislop of Bethel Music. David Hislop is an amazing person. Not only is he an incredible player, but he's also very active in the Facebook groups. He's quick to provide answers to questions related to his gear, his patches, and his IR collection. Who better to craft Bethel tone than a main guitar player from the band, right? A major disclaimer, it's not that I wouldn't spend $15 on a patch. In fact, for what he's giving you, it's great value. Not only do you get the patches, but you also get pre-dialed effects and impulse responses, which I believe are key to getting the sound right. You can check out the official patch over here. And for full disclosure, I'm not claiming that I have the DH Bethel patch repackaged or reverse engineered as my own. I have no access to the patch, I don't have the impulse responses, I'm simply coming at this with ears that have listened to the various examples out there and having read and studied some primary source materials. If anything, this is my interpretation of a DH Bethel patch. With all that legal minutiae out of the way, let's get started. Before we go any further, I want to make this point loud and clear. Listening to a tone over phone speakers does not count as research. You won't be able to make out any of the nuances, especially in the low end. You have to listen to tone samples over headphones. My process begins with watching and listening to some primary source videos. For this patch, I watched the Helix Patch introduction video that contains playing samples and some operational notes and a stereo pedalboard rundown that the Helix Patch is based on for a feel of what kind of gear he modeled after. The two most important components of the signal chain are the amps and the cabs, and David says he used a combination of a Vox AC30 and a Fender Pro Sonic. When I hear the dry clean tone from the actual amps, they're essentially being run clean as pedal platforms. Narrowing down the AC30 equivalent on the Helix is easy, but the Fender sound, it's not your usual PA-like quality. There's a creaminess that isn't there on the Fender amp models on the Helix. As such, I made an educated guess with an M model that's Fender-like with its clarity, but has a creamy mid-range and roundness when pushed with overdrives. That M model is the mail-order twin, which emulates the Silvertone 1484. With the cab sounds, since I don't have David's IR collection, I tried to approximate them with some free IRs from Tone Junkie and Selah sounds. I'll link where you can get a hold of them, but specifically the Selah sound IRs come with the free Helix patches from Praise Charts, which by the way, sound fantastic. I did this for the primary reason that there's a brightness and top end that the stock cabs don't have. More on this later in the evaluation section. Let's move on to the effects section. Bethel has a distinctly bright and clean compression sound, but this isn't just due to the choice of compressor. I think there's a combination of compression and EQ that builds on the amp tone. David explains this somewhat while talking about the lack of high end in other patches. My guess is that in addition to a bright compressor like the Kinky Comp, there's very little high cut happening, if at all, on the cab and EQ blocks. On the EQ block, I'm also guessing that there's a lot more surgical cuts happening. As such, I believe the high frequencies are mostly left alone, with high Q set to cut out offending harsh frequencies in the lower to upper mids. Notwithstanding distortion and fuzz, overdrive generally falls into certain types of sounds. For some, like the tube screamer types, there's a distinct mid-hump and top-end roll-off, while others, like the Timmy, leave the high end intact and are regarded as transparent overdrives. David's big board has several stages of overdrive, with the first stage being a Greer Lightspeed and the second being a pair of JHS kilts. The Lightspeed leans towards the transparent side, so I went with a Tima, while the kilt to my ears is best approximated by the Diana drive with lots of volume boost and less crunch. In the deviation from its patch design, I have foregone the use of a fuzz. There are no demos of David using it on the Helix, and I don't have the expertise to tweak a fuzz yet. What resources do you guys use to learn about fuzz pedals? Please link them in the comments below. This is probably the most important section after the amp cab EQ for a Bethel tone, and if we're being honest, for modern praise and worship music in general. The operational notes give us valuable information as to how David is running his delays and reverb. There's at least one set of delay and reverb pre-amp for the saturation and one set post-amp for ambience. One thing about running wet effects pre-amp into amps on the verge of breakup, they can't run very high. Decay, pre-delay, mix, you name it. Everything you've learned about tweaking wet effects post-amp, take those settings and dial them down at least 50%, if not more. Based on the crunch and movement of the modulation I think I hear from the preamp delay and reverb, I think the delay is a memory man style, much like the El Capistan on David's board, and the reverb is a glitz. Now that we've covered the process, here are some playing samples with both the Tone Junkie and Selah Sound IRs. At the conclusion of this exercise, I preferred the Selah Sounds IRs over the Tone Junkie IRs for their less compressed sound. There's something about the Tone Junkies that made the guitar strings extra compressed and bright sounding, and as a result, you can hear all the strings squeak as I change positions. Honestly, I still prefer stock cabs, which have a lot less top end and a more pleasing mid-range to my ears. Preamp delay and reverb is certainly a sound that is different, and if you're not used for that saturation and breakup from your wet effects, you'll find it very jarring. If you're tweaking for true accuracy and want to follow the Bethel style wet section, keep the preamp delay and reverb lower in decay and mix so that it doesn't get too overbearing. Now what do you think? Are these patches close to the DH Bethel tone? And further to this, here's today's question. What's your process in recreating tones that you come across? I'd love to hear your ideas and thoughts in the comment section below. That's it for me. Thank you for watching this video. Head on over to my Buy Me a Coffee page to download this patch and more to support these videos and my ministry. Share this video with someone whom you know is interested in a DH style Bethel tone. Until next time, I'm Justin and I'm all about worship guitar.